We're about
looking at
to. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 74 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. Just before we get started, some of you savvy listeners and watchers may notice that we've skipped 73. That's because 73 was pre-recorded and will be released afterwards. That's a bit of a special and different episode. But today, it's with great pleasure I welcome to the show Beverly Joy Smith. Beverly is an author, motivational speaker, transformation and health coach, and multiple author. In fact, we'll get into that in a little bit, but just 10 days ago came out with her first solo book, Dare to Dream, of which the foreword was written by none other than Les Brown himself. Bev, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show. How are you this morning?
Thank you. Thank you so much for your welcome, and thank you for the opportunity for me to be here. And I am really feeling fabulous. I really am.
We just said off camera how we both love that word. It's funny because it's a fabulous word, isn't it? Fabulous. It's fabulous. There's nothing quite like it.
You feel it, don't you? Feel.
Yeah, you do. You do. Yeah, it reminds me of like shiny things and bright things and like the stage and yeah, everything bright and glitzy.
Everything bright, glitzy, and that's where we're heading.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's nice actually. I must say, thanks for joining me so early in the morning because I know it's 7 o'clock in the morning there. You're in whereabouts actually? Are you in the UK? Are you in Manchester? Or?
I'm in Manchester, England.
Yeah. So not too far. only an hour and a half away from my old stomping ground back in the UK, which of course was Birmingham. And you were just saying before that you actually went to Aston University.
I actually did, and fell in love with Birmingham. I mean, I thought about London, and I'd tried London before, and I just thought I'll try somewhere different and somewhere a bit nearer to home because I do love Manchester. I just fancied a little bit further afield, and it was really great. I really enjoyed it. Sutton Coldfield, Solihull, New Street, really nice place. Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. Sutton Coldfield, that is exactly where I'm from, and it's funny because I usually go back there twice a year. Obviously not been able to this year, and I've really missed that, to be honest. Really missed my family, my friends, just like going for Sutton Park, going for walks in Sutton Park. It's a beautiful place. It's been a bit of a year for missing things and not having those special times with family, but we've all had to deal with that this year, and hopefully things clear up this year and we can get back to a bigger, better and brighter year. I'm sure of it.
That's what we're hoping for.
Yes, exactly. Now tell me, Bev, the book Dare to Dream, please tell us a bit about that and how on earth did you get Les Brown to write the foreword for it as your first book?
Well, getting Les Brown to write my foreword was a bit of a dream in itself. The actual book, I've always thought about writing something, and many years ago, I write poetry, and I've always felt that I'm inspired, and people would say to me, "Oh, you found that really uplifting," and people would ask my advice, or they would phone me up, or they would speak to me. So I would crib down some poems and different things like that. And also at one point, I became a believer. I became a Christian. At a point in my life where I would consider that I was a very rich person. I was only 21, but I had this fabulous job that I got in London working for Coutts & Co Bank. And I worked in the dealing room. So really just so much money passed through my hands.
Coutts & Co Bank, sorry to cut across you there, but Coutts & Co, for anyone who doesn't know, is actually the bank that the Queen uses in the UK. So it's the biggest one you can get.
It really is. And when you go in on the Strand in London, and the way it is, you don't actually feel like you're in a bank. You actually feel like you're in like a theatrical sort of place, because it really does feel like a really prestigious place. The amount of money and the amount of money that I was being paid at that time really was for myself, where I felt that I was quite rich. And so I'd buy lots of different things. Money was no object to me. And I got to a particular point in time where I was very discouraged, very low. And I know it's very early on to actually say this, but I got to a point where I actually felt to take my own life.
Wow.
And it's
at 21?
Well, I was coming up to 21. It was
okay.
Yeah, and basically, I got to a point where basically someone that I was going out with, I'd only been out with him for about a couple of months, and he was at university, was training to be a dentist, and he actually wanted to concentrate in his final year on being a dentist and being able to afford a Porsche. So I don't believe that really I was so caught up with him such that I felt that, you know, it was so devastating. But I do believe things that had happened in my past and the way that things had impacted on me in different things, I do believe it made me get to that place where it was like a rejection. And really, I thought to myself, well, I got to a point where I just thought it's not worth, I didn't feel like it was worth living. Really, at 20, everything going for me with lots of education and lots of different, I mean, London, coming from Manchester, I was working in London. There's so much. And so this is what can happen to the mind. Your mind, you can get to a place in your mind where you convince yourself of a certain thing. So really, the book Dare to Dream addresses your mindset. And I had to get to a place where I retrained, reset my mindset, re-looked at how I looked at things, and through a series of coaching, personal development, which I went on this journey, which that's how I came across Les Brown. There's a series of different mentoring, and the book will tell all the details. But in a nutshell, it's been a place of A, and I found that through personal development and different tools and coaching and mentoring, I went from place A to place B, transformation. So for myself, I thought alongside being encouraging people, inspiring people, I just had a passion and a heart to help others in that way. As a pharmacist, I was interested in health and helping people. And I would do that in the aspects of medicines, advice, responding to symptoms. There's a particular place where you would do medicines use reviews and you get chatting with people. And sometimes it was things that I'd said to them that they would send in cards. They would be so grateful, so thankful because I was taking the time, and they felt inspired and they felt encouraged. So at a point in my life, it was the end of October, I decided to step out from pharmacy and go more into this because I felt that it was more of fulfilling a calling, and the more I would do it, the more energized. And when the people would say how much I'd helped them, and what came to me was this is the more to life that I was seeking. Obviously, at 21, when I got to a point where I felt I didn't want to live and I was to take my own life. At that point, through divine intervention, which you'll read about in the book, I became a believer, I became a Christian, and I had a faith wherein my life changed and things were different. But on that path of seeking fulfillment, seeking and looking at things in a different way, which was the basis for me to look for something more. Money is good and it's great. You do need it. It's part of life. But to me, wealth broadened as to what wealth meant. Wealth to me encompasses relationships, networking. So even in this particular time of COVID, where we have social distancing and things like that, one of the greatest things that's affected a lot of people is the fact that their connections, their social connections have really been impacted. And people, even within their groups, because they're not seeing regular people, or even if you're married, you have different aspects of yourself, and the social groups and the connections that we had, they have been so cut. And the amount of mental distress that I've seen and encompassed with people, is really quite alarming. And this is another reason that encouraged me to say, well, I have a voice. And during this mentoring, because Les Brown mentored and coached us, and one of the greatest things he was saying is there is greatness within you, and that voice can make all the difference. It can disrupt someone's thought. It can disrupt something that someone's thinking and help them. It can actually save someone's life.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely agree with you there. And I just want to say to start with, thanks for being so open and honest, and coming on that really very early part of the show and telling us about quite a dark and struggling point of your life there. That's one of the things I like about this podcast format. You can just be open, you can just be honest, and it's relaxed, and there's no kind of rigid format that we have to follow here. But I do really appreciate you being open and honest in that. And something that you said, so thanks for that, and I'm sure that the listeners will appreciate that too. A good authentic show, you just cannot beat it. So I think that it's really good that you shared that, and I think that something that's come out of that, which is a common theme I've seen with quite a lot of people who have had dark times in their life, is that you found faith in your situation. It was Christianity, and in that there's rebirth, there's kind of realigning, and you said that you found that you kind of reignite within yourself, and you saw this difference, and perhaps at a time there where you didn't really believe in yourself, you maybe borrowed that belief from the faith, and then the faith helped you to believe in yourself again. That's the kind of trend that I see happen with a lot of people? Would you say that's kind of how it happened for you?
I would definitely say that. I mean, a key thing that happened to me during my life was when I was about 16. I had been a head girl at the school I was at. I'd taken like 10 O-levels. I'd done really, really, really well in school, so much so that the local newspaper had come to our school and had featured us. There was about three of us who had done really well in that school. And so it was to look and see what next would you do? Well, for me, I hadn't thought about university or anything like that. But a friend of mine, she had wanted to be a dentist, something about dentists. And she had come to me and said, look, to do these different exams, because she had wanted to go to university. And then after we achieved all of those, it was like, what next? So the grammar school was an option to go on and do your A-levels. And of course I thought, well, okay, going to the grammar school, I'm head girl, I've done all these accolades. And I actually went along then to the grammar school, to the sixth form. Now, once we arrived, there was other transfers from other schools, and for myself, I was stood there waiting for this head teacher to come. Of course, we were nervous, but I was very, very, very excited. But the grammar school, I must be bright. And I was quite alarmed when things transpired, because the head teacher came along and she sort of looked at all of us and she said, all right, she wants to know why we are here and what is it we wanted to do. So she started asking people. I wasn't expecting that question, and different people were saying things. So as she was coming down the line, nearer and nearer to me, I was thinking, what? And I had thought about a few things. I thought about medicine. I thought about being a teacher. I quite like the idea of roving reporter and being a journalist. One of my sisters quite liked things like that. And by the time she came to me, I really didn't know what to say, because of how she was reacting to not all of the people, but for some of the people. Anyway, by the time she got to me, she said, well, first of all, she said, well, to all of us, wherever you were and whatever you were doing, that's good. But you're with the cream now. So things like that, you saw, that's why I was feeling that way. So then by the time she said to me, she said, and you, Beverly, she was a very tall, stocky, built woman. And she said, and you, Beverly, what is it that you would like to do? And I sort of said, I said, teacher, law, or I said it very quietly, or medicine. And she went, oh, so you want to be a doctor, do you? And then she goes like this with her hand. She said, well, the trouble with aiming so high is you can fall so low. I mean, I didn't realize it, but at that moment, my self-confidence and whatever self-worth I had intact, it was really rocked. I hadn't realized it at the time, but what had transpired since then, when I look back and reflect, is everything I touched, everything I tried to do. It was almost like suddenly I'd become dumb. And cutting a long story short, I still passed my A-levels there, but I didn't do very well, and things tumbled about me, really. But once I found faith, I had a self-confidence that came from out to the inside of me.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, the headmistress, wasn't it? Yeah, she put the kind of the fear of God. Some people say the fear of failure is really what that is. She installed that in you at such a young age. You know, she kind of told you that you were soaring high, but essentially she kind of predicated to you that if you had these big dreams, that you were going to crash. And you know, unfortunately, you kind of, for a time there at least, you slipped into that belief, and the results became a part of it, I guess, in some way or form. But yeah, confidence, you know, and that what you touched on there is confidence, and self-confidence is, you know, living from the inside out, not the outside in, and not letting outside circumstances and things and environment affect you. But I think it's been, you know, relating that to this year, that's been a very easy thing to say, but a very hard thing to do this year, to not be affected by, you know, these circumstances that a lot of people find themselves in, where, you know, they've lost their freedom, they've lost their relationships, some people have lost their job, or they're just not sure how secure their job's going to be. It's been a tough year for that, hasn't it, I think? And I mean, I've found ways to get through it. I say I found ways to get through it. Actually, I'll be completely honest and say at some points I haven't dealt with it very well. Thought I was getting through it, was probably actually in denial, and just masked it, you know, as men kind of tend to do. Not speaking for all you blokes out there, but I'm speaking for myself. And I found that I personally had to strip it really back, you know, speak to a therapist, get some help there, have good deep conversation with his friends, do lots of writing, lots of journaling to, you know, uncover a lot of it, and not just kind of get lost in it. And, you know, again, as a lot of blokes tend to, just keep working, keep your head down, everything's fine, and get through it. Because the reality is that you've got to face it, you know, otherwise it starts to knock things like your confidence, it starts to falter things like your beliefs, and before you know it, you can end up in quite a confused place. How have you, and look, I know I'm here in Australia, it's a lot different situation to what it is there in the UK. What's some of the things that you've done to kind of help get you through this bit of a terror of a year? I shouldn't say this year, I keep saying that. We're 7 days into the new year now, last year.
Yeah, but it does make quite an impact on you. So really, it is, even with doing that, you're doing really well to keep telling yourself and moving yourself forward. Whereas one of the things you can do is get locked in the past. So for me, very early on, I was soaring. Very early on, the last year, 2020, I was soaring. After 2019, I'd set some goals, I'd set some things, and I was really doing really well. One of the major things that's a key thing for me as a personal goal was about weight loss. And I'd actually done the Slimming World thing, and I'd lost 4.5 stone. Something like that. To improve my health. And this is because through baby weight and things like that, I put it on, but the babies they're not babies now. So it's like time. There's no excuse. There was no excuse. I set my mind to it, and I really worked hard. I got myself some personal coaches, and did things where I'd got up extra early and set routines, new morning routine, got involved in like a mentoring program, a mastermind program, those types of things. Because when you have like-minded people around you going the same way, even sometimes you can tumble or you can struggle, but when you can speak with each other, you can lift each other up. So that is really, I was soaring. And then COVID hit.
Bam. Out of nowhere.
You see, you have those people where they have the different plates and they're spinning this and spinning that. And I'm one of those people where that energizes me. So I was doing so many different things, but I was really enjoying it. And with work, and I was working just a few days for the week, and so many things I was doing. But when COVID hit, it was like a rug was pulled from underneath me. And I didn't just shudder. I felt like I fell over. I felt like I fell over. And at that particular time, I was really struggling. I really was struggling. And it was so hard because when I looked at the different things that I was doing, even my weight started creeping up. And because of course we weren't allowed to go out, we were locked down, and also for going out, only certain people could go out and get things. And my husband, bless him, he's lovely, but of course it's the sort of comfort foods and not the things when I would go that I would buy all these what you would call rabbit food or whatever, and lots of vegetables. I love vegetables, I love fruits and things like that, and I'm not saying he doesn't, but when you're not, something as straightforward and simple as that, when you would go out and buy the things you want to buy and eat the things you want to eat and exercise and go to the gym, and I love swimming, so I would swim. So all of those things that I wasn't doing those things, and before you knew it, weight was on. I was feeling discouraged. I was feeling down. I have I have two daughters. One's 21, Eleanor Grace, and the other one's 16, Lydia Faith. And so the 21-year-old, she was in uni, and of course everything was shut down. I had to try to encourage her because she was getting discouraged, and it was very hard from a place of me being down and discouraged to have two daughters, one who's doing her finals for her final year degree, and one 16 trying to finish up to do her GCSEs for school. So for my younger daughter, Lydia Faith, she works so hard. She loves studies, that type of thing. And of course, she was to leave school, but school left her. And she didn't get all the preparation she was doing for her exams. And so really, they needed me to encourage them. So imagine, as a mum, being at that place. I can imagine some of the people listening where they have to encourage others around them where you feel discouraged for yourself. So for me, at one particular point, it was like, I really don't know what to do. Now I'm a woman of faith. I've told you how in the past what happened, but even with the best will in the world, with all something like what's happened, because there was also the Black Lives that Matter and all the different things that happen in the UK, and all of the, a lot going on there. Much going on everywhere, that the impact of everything really, really, really shook everyone, shook everything. And I remember one day saying to my husband, I just feel really, really down. And it does help having another person who's of faith, because my husband is. And he did say he would pray for me. And he did pray. And at one point he did fast. He loves his food, but he did. And I do remember one time I phoned a friend, I phoned someone I knew and reached out, and thank God that person was in a place where they could encourage me. And that encouragement, it's words that spoke to me, spoke to my mind, encouraged me. And I also was able to encourage myself stronger. And one of the great things that I found that really helped me was to get out. I started going out, and I discovered a place quite local, which is it's a park, and it's so full of trees and nature and just beauty. And the particular time which was happening over here, thank goodness, it was a time where it was almost like summer. It was very sunny. The weather was really good. So it was really good to get out. So these are sort of things that really helped getting out, getting into nature. Something about the green in nature just does something. inside. And I do believe our five senses, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, and what you can touch, I do believe they're there as tools to help us to feed the inside, But again, through coaching, through the mentoring program with the Les Brown and all of this helped me. And John Tallarico, there's a new set of thinking into results, thinking, changing your thinking. So all this meant that I could acknowledge other tools, what I would call power tools, imagination, perception, your will, reasoning, because sometimes we tell our things, we tell ourselves things. But perception is another one. But sometimes the way we perceive something, if someone else then comes and speaks about it, sometimes you can change your perception. And at the end of the day, changing your mind on things, changing your thoughts on things, telling yourself, thinking about the positives. When I reflected to think, well, why did I get to that? For me personally, it was that I was reading and watching all the things. They say constant CNN, constant negative news. I don't know much about CNN, so I'm not saying anything bad about them, but people use that and say constant negative news. And so you can focus, sometimes when you're in that mindset, you can focus on the negative things, and then everything you're reading or seeing, and then somebody else is speaking about it. And then before you know it, you've got a cocoon, a group of people all speaking about this. And the fear, it's negative, and it kind of controls. One of my favorite books talks about thinking on what's positive, focusing on what's good, what's lovely. And these types of things that I started doing. Les Brown says about when you fall down, which when I fall down, is, well, if you fall down, land on your back, because if you can land on your back, you can look up. And if you can look up, you can get up. And that's what I was doing. I was looking up, I was looking at what was good, and I was getting up and getting on and getting out again. So, there's that book, there's the best of times and there's the worst of times. A Tale of Two Cities. And that's the sort of situation that I find is happening in the world at the moment. Even though with what's happened, some people are really exhilarated and are found that they're doing really well, and some people it's really catastrophic, and some people are doing really, so it's like kind of a mixed emotions. But I found for myself where, as I said, I got to that place where it felt like the rug was pulled from underneath me. So see me how I was at that point, if you could take a snapshot and then see me as I am now, one of the greatest things and key things for me is I've changed my mind at how I look at things.
I think it's definitely changed a lot of people's minds, perceptions and attitudes on a lot of things, whether that's for the better or for the worse in the moment. I think overall, it will always be for the better. And, we don't always understand why we feel how we feel in the moment, or sometimes even why we do the things we do. But it's important to know and find some peace actually in the fact, I think, that at some point in the future you will, particularly if you're someone who does slow down, who does spend time to think about, yourself, your thoughts, journal, gratitude list, even just write a daily diary. I think it's a great time to go within and use the quiet time to reflect and maximize the downtime. Those things that you wanted to do, even if it's one thing's for sure, that they're never going to shut is the parks. They're never going to shut the parks. Excuse me, I don't know if anywhere, if you listen to this right now and they have shut the parks where you live, then take that.
Oh dear.
I don't think they're going to do that. So that's one place you can always go and get some escape and reconnect with nature. And I think it's going out on a whim here. I think when we go back and we connect with nature, we're getting back with like our tribal spirit as human beings. And I think that's what gives us that peace. That's what gives us that clarity, along with the fresh air. And of course the CNN, the constant negative news, and getting caught up in the doldrums of the TV, the radio, the phone, the magazines, the newspapers, and quite frankly all the crap that they just put out there at the minute because it sells and because they're not always correct. but what they always are is first, and what they always are is shocking, and what they're trying to do is sell more, and that's why they do more of that. Very easy to get caught up in that, particularly when there's not a lot else going on, but I don't think it serves anyone at all.
For me, I think you've got a good point there. And for me, what I found was I stayed concerned and I listened in at times, but I measured what, instead of focusing and just focusing and looking at that and reading all negative, I chose to concentrate and focus on the positive. Look at what was good, what was lovely, what brought life, what was life-giving. I did stay concerned because I do care about it, and that, you know, but not consumed. I think to be consumed by it so that you're going under, so that you can't even help yourself and you can't help other people. I don't think that's very balanced, but I think self-care is essential. It's essential to know and see, well, what can I manage? Because some people, like somebody else I knew, they wanted to know and they were fine on it. But I had to say to one particular person, I'm sorry, please, let's not talk about that. We can talk about certain things or this or that, but certain things where it's really gone to a point where it affects me. And I think if you do that sometimes, and you can be aware of what actually is going to take you down, and then those people that love and care for you, they won't want to push that onto you. They'll want you to be thriving. I look at it on a continuum. This is where the name of my business is Flourish, in the sense that you can exist. You can exist. And some people at the moment are just existing, and some people don't even feel like they're existing. Some people don't feel like they want to exist. There's another one where you can survive. And some people think, well, I'm surviving. But then there's another one where you can thrive. Some people are striving, and it's just a constant stress and an internal pressure of what do we do? How do I do this? So this levels of life and how you feel, and the thriving is, and then after thriving, to me, there's flourish. Because if you can think of something that's flourishing, something that's lush, this is life. You know, if we were to, even now, you know, if I said that to you now, right now, close your eyes just for a second, close our eyes, and we just breathe deeply, breathe in through our nose, let it go deep down into our tummies. So if we breathe in, take that breath, that deep breath into, and then breathe out slowly. I mean, that's life. You can open your eyes. That's life. Life.
Always feels good.
Wake up every morning and just take a couple of deep breaths and be grateful. It's a gift. Life is a gift.
It is. Every day is a gift. Every day is a gift.
Yeah. And to realize that there's light and dark. And if you can imagine yourself in a dark room where everything's dark, you only have to light the tiniest match with a little light. And at that point where the light and the dark meet, they're not contending as if they're equal and opposite. Light and good is powerful. A smile, your face lights up. It's powerful. And when you smile, there's actually endorphins that release chemicals, that natural release in your body. So even if nothing else, you can smile and be grateful that you're alive. You're not taking, as Les Brown would say, a dirt nap. You know, for some people, that's it. Well, in England, we say pushing up the daisies, you know, because someone's passed away. May the people who've passed away at this moment, may they rest in peace. We don't want that to happen to anybody. But if you can wake up and you're alive, you've got the beauty of that gift, then go out, go in nature, and breathe and live.
Absolutely. I think another interesting part of wanting to be in nature and connecting with nature, by the way, can I just say beautiful words, what you just said there. Really nice words. I think, I'm not just saying this because you're in front of me on the show. I think you're a great speaker. And I think the way that you align the words up, and I can tell they come from a place of authenticness and just hope and wanting to help others. Just really, really good work. I really like it.
Thank you.
I think the other thing about like connecting with nature is that nature throughout all of this, in fact, some of its studies and stuff have been showing that nature's been thriving in this time because there's been less pollution around. You know, I've seen all manner of crazy photos and videos of like animals in the middle of towns and in the middle of streets because no one's around. And then of course, you know, flora and fauna in all manner of ways is flourishing in this time. So it's nice to get out into that and know that that continues, you know, outside of, okay, the pub's shut. Okay, you know, I know even the UK, the churches are shut as well, which must be, you know, very difficult for some people. My mum goes to church every Sunday, has done for years. She's found that very difficult. So, but, you know, X, Y, Z is shut and closed, but you get out there into nature and it's still going on. It's still growing. The seasons are still changing. And, you know, as sure as anything, the sun is setting and the sun is rising each and every single day. So that is something that is a continuum for most people. And I think,
go ahead, sorry.
As well as a lot of people, and look, I was certainly one person who fell into this, you know, stopped exercising because the gym was the main place I did my exercise, and that closed, and that was the perfect excuse to just stop doing it, which was pathetic, quite frankly. But I think there's been a lot of people who have actually got into exercise in this time, who've got into going out running or just going out walking or even exercising at home. So there's always positives to be taken out of every situation. It's just about finding them, focusing on them, and then extrapolating them.
Definitely. And one of the, as I say, one of the turnarounds from that place of where I felt like the rug was pulled and everything was by being out in nature. One of the first things that really came home to me as I was walking around, because this uncertainty and all the different things that make you feel just not secure, not settled, not peaceful, not still, not strong, all those things. And I was walking through, I noticed the trees. I noticed the really thick roots that they would have, and the way how they stood and their roots flowed down deep. And I realized, you know, these trees have been here. And in all of the uncertainty and all of what's going on, they are here. It's like being grounded. So again, in your life, you can take things from nature and think about your life and think about certain things. And faith is one of those things for me that grounds me to know that there's someone. This is my belief. I'm not saying anyone else should do that, but this is how I get through. There's someone bigger, wider, stronger, higher, deeper than me. And I do that. He's sovereign over everything. We're going to get through this. When we get through this, on the other side of this, one of the things that spurred me was, it'd be lovely to have, what's going to be my legacy? What would I have done? And so this spurred me to get on and write my book, and to be able to use my book to help other people. So yes, it does tell about my story, and the essence of the book is that despite the odds, despite what's going on, still dare to dream. In the daring, the actual daring, for me, it's unpacked, and my favorite book talks about being bold, being courageous, being strong. How do you become strong? Strength often comes when you are going through things. It's like a muscle. And as you go through those things, like a butterfly, as you go through those things and you're strengthened, this is how you grow. A butterfly, that's how from a caterpillar it goes, and it's in a chrysalis, and it comes out of that dark place, and at the point where it's got to strengthens and it bursts through. The beautiful butterfly. But what does it have to go through? It's change. And this situation of all what's happening in our life is change. But if there's no change, there's no growth. So Just the encouragement is how I would encourage myself and encourage other people, and they would find that my words would encourage them. This is why I've written the book, and not just my stories in the book, but what I've also done is looked at a chapter of tools, tips, and strategies that I've put that I have used that people can use to help them in their life. Dare to dream, still, despite all the odds. Despite all the odds. Look at our dreams, when we look at our life, when we look at our goals and our dreams, this is life. This is what we want. This is what we desire. This is what causes us to be, to want, to do. One of my passions is to encourage, to inspire, to help. And so this is how I believe I'm flourishing and helping and getting through myself as I'm helping, serving as I'm helping. I believe I'm helping hope. Even if it can just be one person, even if one person is helped from my book.
I think that's a great attitude to have. Even if it just helps, affects, has a positive effect. Someone finds some value in it. It's actually the exact same reason I do this podcast. If just one person, which I got along the way. It's been a few months now. Many people have got in touch with me and said they have got benefit from it. They have enjoyed it. They did learn something from it. Even asked me questions about various things. So yeah, it's a great attitude to have. If it can just help or change one person's life in any way, then that's fantastic, and that's job done. Do you think you would have written the book and the book would have come to light, when it did just 10 days ago, if it wasn't for, COVID in 2019?
Yes, I do, in the sense that I've had, when I became a Christian, when I became of faith, I had a heart to help people more so, and wanted the more to life that I was looking for. Because sometimes you can just go after money, or someone might go after love, or whatever it is that they feel is at that time, they feel is a great desire. But I think for me, going outside of just your own personal want, giving back, helping, I think that sort of transcends that type of thing. So at the time, I pray, and I had sort of asked to say, well, what is it? Because I believe each person that's here on this earth, I believe each person has been created for a purpose. I would often say to my girls that, all of us, we have different fingerprints. We've all come with different unique fingerprints. So to me, that's like we've all come with something that we can put a seal on. So we've brought something, we've all brought something, and it's our gift to the world, our gift to others. In having this, being able to have this life, to enjoy life, to share, and it's about giving something back. So what I believe was, for me, is a gift of encouragement, to be able to bring words, to inspire, to uplift, to motivate. So I had, at one point, I believe God had given me a vision to start something which was called Word Ministry, which was basically to inspire people with my words, or with words from others, to draw and to be able to, it's a bit like, well, to me, God can be looked at as the great physician. And as a pharmacist, one of your roles, your key role, is to give the prescription of what the doctor has ordered. So where I was giving medicines and things like that, I do believe in this new role, words. And in my favorite book, it does again say, like, words are like medicine. They can be cheerful words, can be like good medicine inside. And you've probably come across people where different things they could have all the money, they could be rich, they could have love, they could have so many different things. But if you don't have that love, that life inside, that reason to be, a purpose, something to get up for, something that you're passionate, something that you're convicted that this is what I'm here for, it's an added dimension. It's almost like you can have 1D, 2D, and it's like the 3D, 5D of life. Having a purpose, having something outside of yourself. So for me, that's what was there. And with my busy life, because there was a point in time where I cared for my parents, but my parents became ill, and I moved from one place where I was working in order to help care for my mum initially. And then mum had passed away, and then dad was on his own, and I was helping care with dad. And then at one point I became main carer for dad. I had my 2 children as well. I worked as a pharmacist as well. So I was burning the candles at all sides, but I was passionate in all my different roles to do really well. But it got to a point, of course, where for me then, I mean, people talk in terms, and I talk in terms of putting yourself on the back burner, but Jake, I wasn't even in the kitchen. So, you know, around this time, I mean, dad has passed away and things have gotten more of an even keel. I got back to work and all different things, but I started looking to see, well, what is it that I want to do? How do I want? So writing a book or doing my poetry, some form of doing something to help or to give. I have a vision that I'd like to start a school, raise money to be able to build a school somewhere in a place. At the moment, I'm thinking about the Bahamas, like Bahamas. That's what's come to me. I've never been there. I've never ever been there. But what's on my heart is to be able to help other people. At the moment, I suppose I'm thinking of girls, where I help them with their self-worth, their self-esteem. As Les Brown would say, there's greatness in you. There's greatness in each and every person, as I say about our fingerprints. We've all come with something. And if you were to line everybody up in the world to take away all the different things, we're all equal. We're all of the same worth. But there's many people, many children who don't get that opportunity. They're not being told that they're loved, that they're worth. And there's so much that they've got to offer or to give. They've got their dreams, their hopes and ambitions as well. And I'd like to help. But I do believe during COVID, whereby you're locked in and locked down, I think that accelerated the process and gave me time to think, time to get in touch with myself. And again, through my walks that I would go in nature, I got more inspired and I started writing more and more and more and more. So really, it's catalyzed through this period of time in COVID for my book to come through. Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting that you say about wanting to help. You know, you've got this vision of perhaps building schools in lesser fortunate countries, and I can actually help you with that, because I know you're involved in a compilation book, and there's actually a compilation book coming out of The Hunger for the Hustle, which will be 33 different authors' stories of struggles to success. The proceeds of that are going to a charity called the Winning Circle, which actually builds schools and orphanages. Do they build hospitals? I can't say if they do build hospitals. I don't think they do. They definitely built more than one school already, and orphanages in Uganda. So, hey, look, anyone who purchases that is going to help with that. There's going to be a whole series of these books.
I'd love to. I'd love to. You would invite me. I would love to do that.
Yeah. So we can definitely talk about that on the side. But you know, there's going to be a series of these books, and but let's on the topic of compilation books. I know that you've been in part in one last year. Forgive me for the name of it. Is it My Grace?
It's called When Grace Found Me.
When Grace Found Me. Sorry, yes, you did tell me that to start with. I didn't quite remember it. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes.
And how it came about.
So there are 2 ladies. The lead author of it, a lady called Kim Langling in America, and working alongside a lovely lady called Ruth Pearson. And between them, they have come up with this project, which Kim Langling is the lead author. So the book has her name, Kim Langling, and it's an anthology where she is invited a group of women to share their stories about when grace found them. And I was introduced and invited to be a part of this. And of course, when I saw the title, just something resonated within me. And you could call your story, your contribution, whatever you liked, but that was that's the name of my story, When Grace Found Me. And of course, it's the story of when I was going to take my own life, and how divinely the grace of God, the love of God, disrupted my situation and changed me into being on the journey to where you see me today. So that book is out now on Amazon. It's a beautiful book with all the different stories of these different ladies, and it's so that whoever reads it, something in there would resonate with them. And the project, the hope was that, the dream was that someone who maybe dejected, maybe feeling down, maybe could even be at the point of thinking, what's the point of it? And they would read these stories of life and love and hope and overcoming. Life is about overcoming. Because again, my favorite book would talk about when storms come. So not if they come, but when they come. And when something comes, what do you do about that? What do you say to yourself? What do you say to others? And it's stories of what people have gone through, what ladies have gone through. And from those, I believe people will glean help, encouragement, motivation. And just some of them is just sheer joy to enjoy.
And that's what life's about, when you're finding that inner joy, and you find that inner joy that you can find when you find it within yourself, it presents in everything every day. And, to me, in my opinion, that's really true happiness, when you find, a way to live with a joyful spirit in everything that you do. A question I'd love to ask you, Bev, and quite frankly, it's been burning on my lips the whole conversation. I know you've been helping people with your voice for 28 years. Of course, you've had, your business in its official format, Flourish Personal Development, for the last couple of years, and obviously taking it from, I want to stop doing this for free, and quite frankly, quite rightly, get a bit of cash in for it. There's nothing wrong with that. But, over those 28 years of helping other people, of, being encouraging, serving and bringing hope and uplift to a whole variety of people, what's driven your hunger for the hustle throughout?
Passion, I would say. Compassion, passion and compassion. Because again, look at someone who goes through something and you could say, but for the grace of God, that could be me. All of equal value. I mean, there's a story that's told of how there's a person walking along and they look and they see this person in a car, and the person in the car is like, this car's not big enough, not good enough, not fast enough. It's not quite what I want. And then he looks through the window and someone's walking by and then starts riding off and looking and saying, well, and then you can think to yourself, well, at least I'm not on a bike. And then you see the bike person goes off, cycling off. And then you stand and you see somebody who's just standing, waiting for the bus. And then the person on the bike looks and then thinks, at least I don't have to get the bus. And then the person waiting for the bus is going, dear, I have to wait for this bus. And then you see someone in a wheelchair who comes up and then you think, at least you've got legs to walk. So do you see what I mean? It's a sense of being grateful for where you're at, looking to see where you can help someone else. And for me, compassion, care, love, giving back, being grateful for. My mum would always say, count your blessings, count your blessings. And when you count your blessings and you see where you've come from, or you see what you have, it always helps. It always helps. And so this hustle, this wanting to me, hustle is getting to somewhere where you want to get to, where in your mind you feel quite passionate and driven to get there. So for me, the business, I've entered that hustle because I think I'm working harder now than when I was working for someone else. But there's just a drive. There's just a motivation. There's just a want and a desire to make these different dreams and ideas and goals happen. And when I see or get feedback from someone, like one of the ladies I coach, because I do coaching for the transformational coaching, and they get that, aha, oh, thank you. Oh, that's really helped me. That's really helped me. And when they convey just how grateful they are for what may seem like little that I've done, it makes it so encouraging to keep going, that if you can make a difference. Because some people could discourage you and say, what was the hustling and go to bed, whereas I get up extra early and I'll stay up extra late. And it does feel like a hustle, but it's not in the sense of stress. It's more in the sense of really wanting to passionately be and do and help and give. But I do find in the hustle, it's life-giving. It's life-giving, and you want to do more. So I actually have to stop myself sometimes, or my husband will say, oh, did you go to bed? Because I go to bed after him and then I'll be off. And it's what's downloaded, what's been the inspiration. So for me, that's what the hustle is: getting involved, being energized, and being able to give, being like a carrier, a conduit of goodness, and helping and doing and being. That what you have on your heart to get done, you're going to go after it, and you're going to go after it. And there's a why for it. And so even if things come, even if obstacles happen, it's a reason to keep going. And you, even when it's hard, sometimes it's hard, and you think of why. That's the key to it, I believe. When you've got that why, then it keeps you in that hustle. But it's a thriving, it's a joy. It's a joy. Yeah, for me.
Yeah, when you know the why, you can endure anyhow.
Yes, very good. That's the one.
We all know who said that line, Mr. Brown himself.
Mr. Brown himself.
And I think we're getting kind of to the point, the end of this now. We've only got a few minutes left, but
really,
we talked a lot about, I know it's flowing by, hasn't it? We've had so much fun. I think you've talked a lot about passion today, and compassion in that as well. But I always ask at the end of the show people to give 3 hot tips, and I think it's only fair and just to ask for you for these hot tips in people who are watching this who perhaps don't know what their passion is, have no idea how to find it, and where should they really start? Like, what kind of tips would you give to them for people to find their passion?
The first thing I would say is be honest with yourself. Think about not having any constraints, and say to yourself, if you were to advise yourself, even you could look in the mirror and you could say, if there were no barriers, if there were no restraints, if it wasn't about money or about people or anything else, and you could have whatever it is or do whatever it is you want, think about that thing. Don't think of the how. Don't think of how you're going to do it. Just get in touch with yourself and think about what that is. I would say the second thing is, if you don't know and you can't think of a thing, then you can look and see, what things do you love to do? What things are life-giving? What things are you moving towards? What things do you not like? What things would you not want? And when you do that, you can explore and narrow down. And even if when you narrow down, you still don't know, try, have a go, put tests, do something. How does that feel? What was that like for you? Did you feel better or worse? Did it feel like you're feeling more fulfilled, or did it not? Did it help someone? Did it not? So it's to assess where you are and what you like, what you dislike, and to get to know about yourself. Be more aware. I think quite often a lot of people can go about as what you could call we could say like a zombie, or someone who's just being and doing and going through the motions. And when that happens, you can be dumbed down or numbed your senses. So a tip is to start doing things that you would never do before. Try something. Sometimes if you feel fear, do it anyway. Something that, last top tip is, I would say, this is what I would say, what came to me. I believe God gave this to me. And it's that when you show up for something, often fear will show up. But the larger the fear, the bigger the gear you need. So if you imagine riding a bike and you can have different gears, if you're going to tackle a mountain, if you're going to tackle a hill, you've got to go up a gear. You've got to go up a gear. So if you're going to do something, you're going to try it now, you've explored and you're going to try, but then something inside comes and you feel fear. Fear will be there. This is the thing about daring. It's to take courage in spite of the fear and to do it anyway. To think in terms of, well, the larger the fear, say to yourself, well, okay, I'm going to step up on that. The bigger the gear you'll need, and get up and go for it anyway.
Love it. Bigger the fear, the bigger the gear. I love that one. That's a great way to wrap up and end this. What's been a fantastic podcast. I've really enjoyed spending time with you. Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for sharing your many, many words of wisdom. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, I've just put your website, daretoflourish.co.uk, in the comments. If anyone wants to contact Beverly, find out more about a wonderful book, book her for her obvious, fantastic, and fabulous, I'm going to say, speaking skills. You know, you're very well thought out speaker, very well articulated, great topics and subjects, and, you know, you've really seemed to have captivated. Well, you've been doing it anyway, way before Mr. Brown. You know, you shared lessons with him to teach you, but one of the things he always teaches us is tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you've told them. And Beverly, you do that very, very well.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for the invitation.
It's an absolute pleasure. And so Beverly's website is in the comments there, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'll be back in a couple of days with another one, of course. And if you have enjoyed it, please give it a like. Please tell us what you liked about it. So please tell me what you liked about it. That's how I can make them better. And share it with someone else who you think might like it too. Thanks very much, folks. Enjoy your day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.